Ready. Now I'm ready.
Okay. 3, 2, 1. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to week 3 of our 4-part training, Building Something Great Together. And tonight, we are going to focus on creating our business systems and a little bit of conversation about navigating the challenges along the way. And I'm going to be joined tonight by Karen Beckley because my partner in crime is under the weather. So here we are. So let's review our objectives for the 4-week training. We began by honing in on communication skills, especially as they relate to connecting and inviting. And now this week, we are going to be drilling down on the key components of a business system, meeting new people on a regular basis and obtaining our customers, servicing and educating those folks about the products and business benefits, and identifying business partners. And one of our objectives.
The longer test was not.
It's also, we need to get a mute there, right? And one of our objectives along the way is to help you every week with ideas to help you generate 1,000 new PGV. So here we go. So we wanted to begin, as we do each week, reviewing our week before, and we have asked Allison Bates to join us. She has been on all the previous calls, and she is developing a Shaklee business. She's getting very close to director. And so we asked her to kind of share some of the takeaways that she had from last week and the week before that she's finding beneficial in helping her build her business. So Allison, are you there? Oh, we need to unmute Allison. And do you know how to do that, Allison? It's in that
She's
mode.
unmuted. She's not muted.
Maybe it's at her end. Oh, we should have done a sound check, Allison, before we started.
Where is she?
She there now?
No, she's not muted.
Allison, it might be something at your end. Well, I'll tell you what, we'll carry on. And when you get that fixed, just pop in and say hello, and then I'll come back to that. So last week, we talked a lot about setting goals and making a plan. And in particular, we talked about this fascinating area in our brains that's called the creative subconscious, and it's a problem-solving mechanism in our brains. And it's the reason that setting goals is so powerful, because this problem-solving mechanism continues to work on solving problems when it's clear about where we want to go, what our goals are. Even when we're sleeping, it's working on how to get us there. And we talked about how one of the ways that we can help feed the clarity of what we want to that problem-solving mechanism is by writing affirmations and visualizing as clearly as we can where we want to go. We reviewed the Shaklee Vital Behavior Tracker, which is a great kind of a guideline to make a plan for where to put our time and what helps generate volume and build our businesses. And we talked about a couple of ideas that helps generate 1,000 PGV. So still nothing from Allison. We'll go on and we can come back. So our objectives for this week are is about creating our business system and taking the all the things that we have been learning individually and put it together in a system. Karen's going to walk us through that in a minute. So she's explained there's going to be 3 parts to any system. They vary from Shaklee distributor to Shaklee distributor, but one thing that businesses must have in common are the 3 elements of our business system, and that is a process for meeting new people on a regular basis. So it's not hit and miss. Gee, I hope I run into somebody this month. It's a clear process how we're going to meet new folks. There's a process then of once we meet them and we invite them into Shaklee membership. is how we're going to service them and educate them about Shaklee products and the business benefits. And then what's our system for identifying and developing our business partners? So that's the plan for tonight. Karen, maybe you could go through then some of the skills that we learn along the way and how we put that into a system.
Perfect. So as Barb and I were preparing for this evening, we actually started to brainstorm a list of things that we have learned along the way and are continuing to learn. And so this list is, of course, limited. We could go on and on and on. But, we sat back and looked at it and thought, oh my goodness, this is kind of cool. Look at all the different things that this business has taught us and stretched us in, right? So everywhere from relational type issue, topics or making connections, to social media and technology, to communication skills, which falls under people skills, organization, even tax deductions was something I was not familiar with when it came to owning a business prior to coming to Shaklee. And then of course, product information, health information. So as you look at this list, if you are brand new, this is not meant to intimidate us. And if anything, it should energize you and excite you that this lies ahead. And if you've been around for a while, if you've been around the block, you should be celebrating the fact that you have, whether you've realized it or not, have been honing in on these skills and developing them. But tonight we want to make sure that we kind of tie it up in a pretty package. And that's where we want to talk about a system, because those skills, if we don't have something in place that we can execute, then our business really isn't going to grow. So let's focus on that this evening. So the most important thing that you will hear from us is over and over is that we should be duplicatable. Our business should be duplicatable. And I will tell you, if you aren't familiar with my story, when I was first introduced to Shaklee, I was working full-time hours with little children. And a Shaklee business really started out as a side gig. And when I say side gig, I mean like a mini side gig, right? I didn't have a lot of time to devote. But what I had to learn quickly was how to work smart and not harder, right? So we hear that, smarter, not harder. And honestly, it was creating a system that helped me get into a groove. And part of that system was making sure that what I was doing in my business or learning in my business, that I was passing that on to other people. Because the nature of this business is that we grow as a network. And there's only so much of us to go around, right? So as you begin to add clients and you begin to add teammates and business partners, there's only so much of you. So if you are strategic in thinking through how you connect with new people, how you introduce, prospective business partners to the business, all of these things, if you have a plan in place, it just makes it so much easier, especially I'm speaking to those of you who do work full time. This will be your best friend. So this quote right here from Ray Higdon, I love: the number one reason people have trouble bringing in new customers or business associates is because they don't have a system. So what would a system look like? I'm glad you asked. We'll talk a little bit about that.
So there are many different ways of approaching a Shaklee business, but they will all have within their system these three components. We're going to repeat this throughout the session tonight. So you will really have this nailed. And the first one is a process for meeting new people on a regular basis. Second is a process for servicing and educating those folks, and a process for identifying business partners. So let's begin by talking about a process for meeting new people. There's many ways of doing this. We want to share three ideas with you tonight. The first is, in a world of social media, that we are learning how we can put posts out that create curiosity, that share little pieces of our world and our lives and our health and things we're learning with others. And we put that out on social media, and people sometimes respond, indicate an interest. And so we want to understand how we respond to them when they do. We're going to give you some ideas. And then we want to meet people, continue to meet people ourselves, people that make friends and build relationships. And we'll talk about personal contacts and connections and networking. And some of you are familiar with BNI groups and Chamber of Commerce groups and other community groups. We're going to share with you some ideas around that. But the one that probably was at the heart of my business strategy for meeting new people on a regular basis, and still is offering incentives and rewards and thank yous to current customers whenever they refer their friends, and allowing us to meet the people that they know. So we're going to drill down on some of these so that we can learn more about them. So people are the lifeline of our business. When we utilize a system to connect with them, we will never run out of people. I will tell you, after 40 years in the business, I've never run out of people to talk to. In session 1, we talked about making 2 lists at the end of that session. One was, when you start a Shaklee business, or if you relaunch your business, is make a list of people that you think would genuinely want to know about a company like Shaklee and about Shaklee products. And then people that you would generally like to have on your business team, that you'd love to travel with and do meetings with and strategize with. And then we discussed ways to invite those people to our various events and appointments, because these folks in the beginning, those key people that become the core of what will become your business organization. So you want to think about people you really would like to work with, who have skills and abilities that would help them be very successful in our business. Now, one of the things we pay attention to starts with our calendars, right? And however you keep your calendar, I'm a day timer, folks. That I write it all down in that day timer every day, and I make sure that calendar is filled. So if we get, that's one of the goals we get to set, is how many events, how many appointments, how many phone calls do we want to schedule every week? It can be 2 appointments, or it can be 20. I came across I guess I left some of it here. It was a quote about, if we were dentists, could we earn a living if we only had 2 appointments a week? It was like, we don't think of it in those terms, but it's true. I know when I was developing my business, there were times when I did 2 or even 3 meetings in a day, and appointments in a day. Because remember, that was the dark ages before we had computers and Zoom meetings and all of that. And so, we went out the door, and we met with folks around their kitchen tables. And that, after this couple of years where people have had so much isolation, people are kind of longing for that again. That's become kind of popular again. And a little rule of thumb is, for every 4 events, and these don't have to be events that have casts of thousands, we're talking 4 or 5 folks attending a Zoom or a health chat or a Facebook event or whatever it is, every 4 events will generate about 1,000 PV. So it's a good rule of thumb. So one other thing I wanted to share with you is a concept that that helped me in thinking about the people that I wanted to meet as part of my system. And that is that every person, every one of my customers, I think about them standing in a circle of 5 people, because everybody has a mother and a brother and a sister and a coworker and a best friend and a next door neighbor. Everybody has these 5 people around them that have needs, who have interests. And my goal is to meet those folks and to help them learn about whatever aspect of Shaklee would be important to them. So here's a couple of dialogues that a number of you have asked for word tracks. And here's just a couple. So things that I say when I'm inviting people to health chats and Facebook events is I got really good at saying, when I was in a conversation with somebody, I would say, oh, by the way, if there are people who come to mind that you think would also like to know about safer, more natural approaches to whatever we've been talking about, if we've been talking about hormonal imbalance or gut health or immunity or whatever the topic has been, I offer free products to anyone who refers a friend to join us on our health chats. That as a way of saying thank you for thinking of others. I want people to do it because they care about their friends, not because they're going to get something for it, but then I like to give them something for it, right? After sending a link to a health chat. And remember, when we send links to the health chats that are archived at Better Health in 31 Days, remember to always send those privately. Don't post them publicly, because that's one of the reasons we use that website, is because it's password protected. So we might say something like, as you're listening, when people come to mind that you think might also like to know about this information, if you'll jot down their names, I will have a thank you gift I'd like to offer you in exchange for any of those folks that you refer. And I'd be happy to send them the link also. And the last one is, after listening to a health chat yourself, sometimes we invite people, but they can't come. There is value in attending health chats ourselves. And that's because we get to hear those stories. And when we hear those stories, they can come up in conversation when we are talking to friends or customers, to share the story of someone that we heard, whose story we heard on a health chat, and the profound difference that the products could make for them. So we might say something like, I was listening to a Zoom meeting last night, and I heard the most inspiring story about a woman who had really had significant improvement after some really debilitating hormonal imbalances and menopausal symptoms, or migraines, or digestive issues, or whatever it is, right? And just by making some shifts in her diet and adding some supplements, I was so moved by her story that I wanted to call a few folks today just to see whom you might know that might want to hear this information. Okay, so just conversational, just asking, putting it out there. Got it. Okay.
And Barb, you've always trained us on the value of depth versus, you call it the clothesline, right? So if you can picture a clothesline of customers or teammates versus building in depth, you just painted a perfect illustration of how we can do that, which is expanding our network through the people we already know or who are already on our team. So, okay, so what about social media? Some of us are getting really savvy with social media. Some of us are, keeping a healthy distance from it, but we'll put ourselves out there in sharing something related to our business. And then someone expresses interest and we freeze, right? Now, what do I do? So let's walk through that. What would you do if someone expresses interest from a social media post? Well, the first thing is, because this is a relationship business, you have to build trust. And you can only get so far through social media or through a text message. So try to get the conversation offline if you can, and make sure that you're using your own personal experiences so that they can relate to you and again, establish trust between the two of you. And I am also very quick to say, this is something that I myself struggle with, or I'm learning this, or I'm going to try this, right? They like to kind of get on board with you. You don't have to have it all together. So keep that in mind too. So here are some ideas. One might be to set up a phone call. Okay. So if they message you, like I said, express interest, you can message back something like, thank you for reaching out. It's so great to hear from you. This is something I'm very passionate about, and I found such purpose in helping others with their wellness needs. And then set up that phone call with them. And on the phone call, Pam is a genius at this, but often she'll say something like, I've been teaching others about wellness and recommending Shaklee products for over 20 years. I'd be happy to share a bit about what I've learned. I'd like to set up a phone call with you. But before we do, I'd like you to fill out a free nutrition assessment. That'll give us a nice basis to start out our conversation. And then you send the link of the Meology assessment and schedule that phone call. And when Shaklee gave us Meology a couple of years ago, the biggest reason for that was so that it gave an even playing field for all distributors, whether you've been around for 40 years or 4 weeks. That Meology assessment is a tool that gives you credibility, and it also gives you a springboard for conversations. So again, on this phone call, you don't have to have all of the knowledge, you don't have to be a certified nutritionist like Barb, although that is an incredible resource. You can use that Meology assessment and it will walk you through the conversation for you. Another option would be to just send them some resources, right? So as Barb referenced, that health chat link from Better Health in 31 Days, we can't stress enough the importance of having a subscription to that site so you have access to those. Or again, the Meology assessment or a 3-way call. And then the third one, this is the one I'm probably most comfortable with, is meeting with people in person. If I can make that happen, obviously they have to be local. But I feel like there's something about a connection, especially today after we've had to be in isolation for over a year from one another. But just, I love to offer people, hey, can I treat you to coffee? Or do you want to come over we can hang out on my back deck for a half hour? And I'd love to hear more, because oftentimes when I put out a post, let's say a post about Stress Relief Complex, someone will say, so does that help your stress? Or I'm so frazzled, is this going to help me? And I could easily say yes. But I also have a lot of questions and I need to ask those questions. So this is why the phone call or the in-person meeting or the Zoom, if you need to, is crucial, because you've got to ask the questions and get the conversation started. And then what happens with a conversation? Now you've formed a relationship, a deeper relationship that's built on trust. So this
Excellent.
is so important.
And I just want to point out one of the reasons that we mentioned this. I have been teaching others about wellness and recommending Shaklee products for over 20 years, I just recently started using Shaklee products, and I've had I've learned a lot since I have. Or is the reason you do that is because if one of our leaders had the experience of being in an online group, and somebody asked a question, and she responded to say, I might have an idea for you. And the first thing that the person texted back to her was, is this MLM? Because people got suspicious that people were using these online groups to build their businesses and using them. And so that's why we want to be right up front and say, there's some things I've learned through my work with Shaklee, or my using of Shaklee products, or my interest in nutrition, that I use Shaklee products, and the people that I work with are very conscientious about educating us and offering educational health chats and so forth. So if there's something I have that might be useful to you, I'd be happy to share with you, right? So just being upfront about that. Okay,
That's
Karen.
a perfect segue into this, because another layer of this is I oftentimes hear, I don't know enough people, or I've already asked everyone. And if we're all honest with ourselves, we've come to that point, right? Where we've used that as an excuse. Well, let us help you push through that, okay? Because as we'll talk about in a few minutes, that is a scarcity mindset. And there are people galore out there, but you need to go find them. What's super important, though, is that you are establishing relationships first, okay? So let me give an example. If someone moves into the house next door and you see them unpacking, and the first thing you think is, oh, that could be my next Prove It challenge, okay? That's a problem, because what we need to do is see people for people and the value of a relationship. So rather than looking at people as a potential sale, right? Let's back up and let's look at people for relationship reasons. And so a great place to start is think through your interests. Just make a list of the things that you enjoy. And, this may be a little old school, but go seek out clubs, classes, programs, networks, communities that surround those things. Some of the ideas here we have, painting classes, cooking classes. I love my Zumba class, a service group, a Bunko group. Sherry Johnson on my team, she's part of a Bunko group. That is a group she's established relationships with. And after Bunko one night, she had invited them weeks prior and said, hey, I want to share with you guys my new endeavor in wellness. So this wasn't, I'm just going to do a blind sale or presentation. This was, I've already established relationships. Connie Palmer on my team is very involved in her worship team, in the worship team at her church. And it cycles through teams each weekend. So she's building relationships with people so that as they're talking about health related issues, she's already established that. PTO meetings, of course. Katie Davis on my team is part of a volleyball league that they're just a tight group of friends. You can partner with a local business. We've done this before where in town, I live in a bit of a small town, but we went to a local store and it's a home decor store, think like Chip and Joanna Gaines, right? And we said, hey, for Christmas time, if you open up your store after hours and we invite people to come in, would you offer a discount? And so what we did was we served hot cocoa and we had Shaklee samples and of course, everything on display, but people could also shop in the store and receive a 15% off discount. And she, the store owner, loved it because we brought in business for her. It was a win-win for us because it wasn't just, hey, come to our Shaklee event. It was come shop. It's Christmas time. So think about who could be partnering with what as well. And it's great advertisement. Allison Bates on my team, who we'll hear from in a second, her son just started football. This was his first year on a football team and she knew no one. She didn't know any of the moms. So she invited them all over to her house for just a wine and cheese night. And she brought me in as a guest speaker to talk about kids' immunity and health. And so we had an awesome discussion and all these moms who didn't know each other left that evening having a great time with some more knowledge about health and immunity and also saw her as a resource for future, questions and conversation. Andrew Kurtz on my team is an avid runner, if you know him. And so he's part of running groups all around. And if you think about it, when you're an endurance runner, you are running for a while. So, you have a lot of time to talk with people, but also it's just a really tight community as well. So he's established a lot of relationships there. So I want you to look at these ideas and think, okay, I need to go out and meet people, form relationships. And does it mean I will have a sale tomorrow night with PGV? No, you most likely will have to invest time and effort. But if anything, you gain the richness of friendship and relationship, which is so valuable, right? And I loved this Dr. Shaklee quote. I asked Barb to include it, but he said, if you have a dollar sign in one eye, you are half blind. If you have a dollar sign in both eyes, you are totally blind. Serve your fellow men and women, and the money will come. So he had the exact same philosophy. We are founded on the golden rule, and this right here is an example of that. All right, so now you've met with them. What do you do? What do you send them? What do you share or give with them? Well, this really depends on where that conversation goes, right? But here's a whole grouping of ideas that we came up with. So Shaklee makes beautiful brochures. You can purchase those, with your regular auto ship, monthly auto ship, and just start out small. Just buy one pack, try one product. Here we have pictured the Optiflora DI and MindWorks. But the Shaklee difference, we have a brochure on that, and it's a beautiful one. We have one for the business opportunity and neology. So having those on hand is really helpful, especially if you're going to hand out samples, because it's just something you can slip in there really easily or have out at events, of course, as well. The product guide is your friend. That product guide, what I love most about it, it's just gorgeous, and it has all the information we need, but it has the labels for the products, right? And it also has the scientific research in the back. So those are things for certain types of people that, again, gives you credibility. It's not just a shopping catalog, right? It's a really strong resource that you can use and send home with someone. Samples are gold. If you can get a sample in someone's hands, it opens up a conversation. It forces you to connect with them. Either you're giving it to them in person or you have to ask them for their address, right? So you're making a connection. And then you have the perfect excuse to follow up. And underlying all of that was a selfless act that they see from you, like, oh, she just gave me a free sample. What's this about? So these are really powerful. So keep in mind, a lot of products work better than others for samples. but I say nothing's off limits. But some of the more cleaner type samples you can offer are Triple Defense Boost and the Hydrate Sticks, just because and teas, because they come in that stick form. Life Shake, we now have those beautiful Life Shake packets. And then the Sustained Energy Boost now comes in the little strips as well. The physician letters, do you know about these? We have slowly been building the library, and you will find these in the back office. If you go to your back office or Shaklee.com and you go to your business tab and then tools, you can type in the search bar physician letters, and you will see there's a letter surrounding prenatal, cholesterol, blood pressure, bariatric surgery, and the Shaklee difference. So these are letters that have been written by our medical team, Shaklee's medical team, and they are written specifically to physicians. So one of the key ones is prenatal. We oftentimes get women that say, Vitalizer, it's a certified prenatal. I'm not sure if my doctor's going to approve. I always tell them, take in the catalog or take in the physician letter. And 100% of the time, doctors are like, yes, this is incredible, right? But again, credibility. So having those are a wonderful resource. And then if you're not familiar with the share link or that you copy on our actual back office, if Barb here has put Vitalizer Women, if you are wanting to share information about Vitalizer Women, you can pull that up on your page, and there's a little link next to the image that says share link. Click on it, and it gives you a specific link that you can text, email, send directly to someone who's interested. And what it does is it attributes it to you. So when they click on that link and they look at Vitalizer, maybe they wander off and they look at other products, right? It will always be linked to you, so that if they start adding things to their cart or decide to check out, you then will get credit for that. So that's a great way. And finally, the product pages, these product information sheets, again, are in the back office business tools. But all of our most popular products have a sheet that looks like this. Sometimes they're 1, 2, 3 pages long. They're gorgeous. They have the nutrition label. They have the scientific, backing, what it's for, what it's about. And these are from Shaklee Corporate. So we know that everything that is, included there is of course safe for us to share, but it's also very comprehensive, which is wonderful as well.
Terrific. So
hey, Barb,
wonderful resources.
Before we move on, I think Allison might be ready now. So could we jump to her?
Al, are you there? Maybe not. Okay. I'll bring her in when we get to the challenges.
Perfect. Okay.
I'll bring her in there.
Sounds good.
Okay. Yeah, great. Thank you, hon. Okay. So that was the first system. The process that we wanted was for meeting new people. Those are all ideas for that. And some of these, of course, overlap. Now let's talk about creating our system for servicing and educating our customers, because this is the piece that creates lifelong customers and friends. When someone becomes a Shaklee member, usually it's because they are impressed with the Shaklee products, the results they're getting with it, the science behind it, the Shaklee company. They see how all the patents, all the 60 years of research, that it's a company they can trust. They trust the expertise. And all of that is great, and they may join for the business as well. But a customer, when they join us, doesn't just get great products and a great company. They get a little bit of us, comes right along with it. And that's no small thing, because they don't get that when they go to Whole Foods. And when we come along with every bottle that goes out the door, along with it comes our service and access to our resources and a caring ear. I will tell you that after 40 years in the business, I have customers that I've had from 40 years ago. I have their adult children, in fact. So we wanted to share a couple of ideas. There's many for educating customers about health, about nutrition, about benefits, home businesses, and so on. And there's two that we want to highlight especially. One is called the Learn and Earn program. You give people some rewards for taking the time to listen to our webinars and health chats and so forth. And and then we can Shackley has this great gift fulfillment option, so you can offer a gift for people through using your business leader, and then inviting them to a whole variety of different kinds of events, Facebook events, and health and business chats. Okay. Karen, I think, is this one
Yeah.
yours? Yep.
Sure is.
Okay. Mhm.
So some more practical ideas are to, well, let me back up. We want to make sure that we're educating. Again, I have found that a conversation with someone is very helpful. But if I can take that conversation to the next level in offering some type of education, and keep in mind, it could be me offering that education, but it could be just using a really strong resource, especially for those of us who are new. It's really wise to take that approach. So you can have individual appointments, as we've already mentioned, three-way calls, which you hear from us all the time with an upline or someone else on the team that maybe has an experience story or has been around with Shackley and knows a little bit more about health solutions. Schedule those. Those are really helpful. In-home events. And again, we're starting to do these and see these more. So anything from a smoothie workshop to walking through the product guide, a spa night highlighting our youth products, non-toxic cleaners and a non-toxic home. You can do a little demo in your own kitchen and everyone leaves with a little gift and you have a clean kitchen. Healthy eating, a natural medicine cabinet. And then, you know, we've talked a lot about how Zoom fatigue is really starting to kick in, and that craving for connection is just so important. New member appointments, which I'm going to get into a little bit more in detail in a few minutes, are really helpful as well for someone who is newer. And then Facebook events. So here's just some graphics of Facebook events that either my team or some of us on other teams have put on before. But challenges are really, and that's the next bullet point, but challenge groups and Facebook groups are wonderful because you can set them over a span of time. People can check them out at their own leisure. They can be as involved as they want to be, or it can be a fly on the wall if they'd rather. But here's some ideas that we've used, and it gets people engaged. And you want to offer value. So while you will, of course, talk about Shackley or health and nutrition or a clean home in these, you also want to offer fun games, giveaways, engage them in questions and polls. Our June Jumpstart group that we did, we actually made it a summer theme. And so we talked about just getting ready for summer. So of course, we talked about sunscreen, which you could probably figure out which sunscreen we highlighted. But we also talked about some of our favorite bathing suits and cover-ups and, swim bags and some summer ideas for your kids because they're home all summer. You need some ideas to get them active and ready. What should you bring to a barbecue, right? So some healthy recipe ideas for that. So again, offer some value, make it fun, keep people engaged, and they're more likely to keep joining your challenge groups. And I would say I've had a number of my distributors actually join my team because they were initially part of a challenge group. And of course, there's the Prove It Challenge, which we should all become very familiar with. And then we can have Zoom events. We can, have health chats on any type of topic. In fact, what Barb's really good about is she kind of has her ear to the ground. And I've noticed if she hears us asking a lot about, hey, Barb, what would you recommend for sleep? She'll be like, you know what, let's do a sleep health chat. Because she sees there's a need for that. That we don't have to rely on Barb for that. We are capable of creating these resources as well. So be courageous, take that step outside the box, go for it, and find others that'll, link arms with you in that. And then networking groups. And again, Barb mentioned this already, but you want to be really careful that you are, upfront and honest. You say who you're representing. You don't want anyone to think that you're sliding in there to have any ulterior motive, because if you're with Shackley, we don't, right? But they don't know that. So we just want to make sure we do that. And I love to take that offline if I'm in a Facebook group or a networking group and just say, private message them and just say, hey, I've got a sample that has worked of something that's worked for me. Would you mind if I shared that with you? And most often, people are going to accept that and be really excited to give it a try.
Very nice. And remember on these Facebook groups, any of these ideas, team up with other leaders, and it just takes the pressure off you to having create things
Yes.
yourself. We've got a whole treasure trove of these things all archived that we can share, and but I'm amazed at the numbers
Mhm.
when we are running these breaking up with sugar. Dear sugar, let's break up. I mean, and the no sugar November. I mean, these folks get 100, 200, 300 people sometimes come on these challenges. I'm just amazed that they're very, very popular. Okay, so that brings us to the Learn and Earn programs, which are one of my favorites and very successful for me too. Karen, share how you set this up.
Yeah, so education continued, right? When someone educates themselves on healthy solutions, and this is my story, everyone, when I finally learned about how the body is synergistic and holistic, right? That the gut affects the brain, and what I'm eating affects the gut, and all of those things. It was like a light bulb went on for me, and I thought, what have I been doing? Like, this seems like obvious. I need to change the way I'm supplementing, the way I'm eating, all of these things. But it took me realizing that, not someone just barking it at me, right? So that is why education is so important. You just hand the resources, the knowledge, the education over, and you allow them to rifle through it and filter out what they need. Some are going to take longer than others, but as soon as that light bulb goes off, and again, I'm speaking like a teacher here, it is the best moment because they're sold, right? So Learn and Earn is a great program for that. This is a postcard I made. Please don't go out and make postcards tonight. This was something I did years into my business because I wanted to remind people of my program, but you don't need to have a postcard, okay? I just wanted to show you a visual of what things could look like. You could even make this a graphic on Canva if you wanted to. But here is the simple languaging that I had on the back of the postcard. It says, would you like a free Shaklee product or save on shipping with your next order? Saving money with Shaklee has never been easier. By utilizing our Learn and Earn program, you can benefit from the expertise of our nutritionists, doctors, and scientists via archived webinars on various topics like, and I listed basically the top 10, right? But we of course have dozens and dozens and dozens of topics. Listen and learn from one of our educational webinars and receive a free product or save on shipping, your choice. Message me and I'll send you the simple instructions to redeem these savings. So they need to reach out to me after getting this postcard so that I can now start that conversation, right? So I know they're interested. Now we talk through, hey, what topic is of interest to you? Let's pick one that really piques your interest. I send them the resource. They then send me, however they'd like, text message, Facebook Messenger, 3 takeaways. So 3 nuggets that they thought were really interesting from the health chat. That's it. All they've got to do. And then I gift them either free shipping or a free product. And oftentimes I will word it as a rebate. So, they would pay for their shipping and then I would rebate it to them, through Venmo or a check or something like that. So you can do this all different ways. If your business leader is willing to help you with gift fulfillment, that's a feature that they have. You can talk to them about that, where they can place a gift in their cart. So you have that option as well. But this, again, opens the conversation, gets them educated, and you can have people take advantage of this over and over again. It's worth it to me to gift free shipping to someone who's excited about learning about all of these different health issues, because
and it's a tax deduction.
And it's a tax deduction. And oftentimes what happens if someone really shows that type of interest, not only are they a loyal customer, but what ends up happening is they become a distributor, right? Because they want to share this with others.
Yeah. And I remember Katie telling us when she started her business, she had she had some kind of reward. I don't remember if it was free product or free shipping or whatever it was. If people listened to just one of our health chats in a month, anytime they would listen to one, then she would give them, free shipping that month, whatever it was. And I remember her saying she had one customer that listened every single month, and she ended up being her biggest customer. She used all the products because she learned all about them, just like we do. It was really that's a really effective program. But this is the other super effective program, and that is welcome letters and new member appointments.
Yeah, so now you have someone who's signed on as a member or they are very interested. So you want to talk to them about all the perks and benefits that await them as a Shaklee member. You, at this time, can schedule a meetup, a Zoom, again, on the phone, but you want to make sure that you give them a full picture of what they can expect from you as their wellness advocate. You know, what does your commitment look like to them? What kind of communication, what resources are you going to offer them? And then also explain who Shaklee is. This is their introduction to who we are as a company. And we all know that is worth sharing. So we want to make sure they have all of that great information up front. The benefits, the discounts that await them. You want to talk about referrals. So back to what Barb was talking about earlier on this evening, you know, do you know anyone that would be interested in fill in the blank? Because if you do, I have a way to reward you for that. Sharing the opportunity. You know, it's never too early to talk about the business opportunity, and you can feel someone out, but even if it's just using a sentence or two and letting them know that it's there and telling them why it has been so impactful in your life already starts to plant a seed in their mind. And then lastly, it's a great way to set up expectations for follow-up. So I always love to say to people, you know, let's get you started. You ordered the Vitalizer, I'll track and I'll see when you receive it. And then would it be okay if about 3-4 weeks in, if I checked in with you to see how you're feeling, if you have any questions? I established that at this conversation, because then it makes that follow-up, well, first of all, it holds me to it. And then it also just makes it really organic. They're expecting me to follow up. So I don't have to talk myself out of it or be worried that I'm bothering them, because the two of us have already established that I would be doing that.
Very good.
So let's use Pam's welcome letter. This is what she, and really packet, which she shares with a new member. Okay, so she'll have a new member appointment, and Pam loves a good phone call, but also meeting in person. So I can imagine that's her ideal setting here. But it's a basic letter. And what I love, if you look halfway down on the first page, is she even gives them directions of how to use the Shaklee Connect app or to order online. So it's almost like a little training session there, so that she is not constantly having to navigate and troubleshoot months to come, right? We take care of it all now. Let me show you how to do this. And then this is key, everyone. We have to make sure we talk through all of the loyalty benefits. This program is such a gift to us as distributors, and loyalty is key to a foundational business. Okay, so we have to make sure we want our customers ordering monthly, and we want them to see the value of that and what they gain, the perks they gain from doing so. So make sure you spend time on that. There's also the Shaklee difference. This is really the greatest member benefit. This is where we explain why Shaklee. Because a lot of times our clients are coming from a different company, right? Using other products, or they don't know anything about any company. So this is a chance for us to show them why they pretty much need to land here and stay here, because it is the best. So you can talk a bit about the science. This has a lot about our testing. We have amazing graphics that you can use here that really condense it all. Pam's got a great one right here. So really focusing on that and the history, legacy, and integrity of Shaklee. And then also she mentions Shaklee's Naturally blog. So again, here's another resource we offer to you for free as a member. And she puts here too, I have a private Facebook group for my clients. Can I add you to that? And there I'll share recipes. I'll let you know about any promotions or specials. Sometimes I do giveaways. It also can just be a sense of community and encouragement. So she, asks for permission to be added to that Facebook group here at this appointment as well. You can see this is such a crucial meeting, right? Because you're kind of working through all of those important pieces and getting them all taken care of from the start. And then finally, really focusing on what Shaklee refers to as use, share, build. And the use part is they've already started, right? They're with you because they've become a member. But this is where you can start to describe and explain and paint a picture for what share would look like. And that could be as simple, again, as hosting an event. It could be just telling your coworkers that you're doing a Prove It challenge and see if they want to join you. It could be sponsoring members so that you gain a little kickback too for the referrals that you're bringing my way. So here's a chance to even just, again, show them what that looks like and how we like to operate with Shaklee, that they can do it, they don't have to feel slimy or icky. This is something that's very organic, natural, and relationship based. And then this final document is a great document of basically which products do you use, and it has all of the Shaklee products but categorized. And basically what they can see is, oh yeah, I use a household cleaner. Oh, yeah, I take vitamin D, that kind of thing. And so then it's essentially replacing that with, instead of products from Target, Walmart, big box stores, what could we replace with Shaklee? Because you know that the quality doesn't even compare. It's, superior standards, but also it might save you money as well.
Very good. Thank you. So, so those are the key steps of our process, of our system that we set up. And before we close, we just want to take a moment to talk a little bit about, as we tackle our businesses and set up our systems, it's not always exactly smooth sailing, right? There are times that when we're going to bump into some challenges. And so I wanted to take a minute and share with you just some quotations that we found, some concepts that may be helpful. One of my favorite books is called If Life is a Game, These Are the Rules. And it starts out with what it calls 10 rules for being human. Well, we're just going to look at 5 of them, but I just love them because they remind us of where to put our thinking. It starts with, you'll receive a body. You may love it or hate it, but it'll be yours for the duration of your lifetime on Earth. And number 2 lesson will be, I don't know why we're getting so much banging around noise there. Number 2 rule is, you will learn lessons. You are enrolled in a full-time informal school called life. And each day you will have the opportunity to learn lessons. You may like the lessons or hate them, but you have designed them as part of your curriculum. Rule number 3 is, there are no mistakes, only lessons. Growth is a process of trial and error, experimentation. The failed experience are as much a part of the process as the experiences that ultimately work. Some of you may be familiar with John Maxwell's book called Failing Forward. It's that we learn more from the mistakes than we do from the things that go well, right? And this is number 4. A lesson is repeated until it is learned. So if we have a way of interacting with people that doesn't always serve us well, and we have breakdowns in relationships in our family, in our neighborhood, with friends, and so forth, those breakdowns may continue to happen over and over again until we learn whatever the lesson is we're supposed to learn around that. So a lesson will be presented to us in various forms until we have learned it. And when we have learned it, then we can go on to the next lesson. Gosh. And the last thing is, learning does not end. There is no part of life that does not contain its lessons. If you're alive, there are lessons to be learned. Even as we age, we have to learn how to deal with an aging body. Learn how to die. Learn how to go through that. Each journey of our lives. There are no mistakes, only lessons. So our friend Kate Taylor was going to be joining us tonight, and she was under the weather. So I just wanted to share some thoughts from our conversation with her, because Kate is a music therapist, and she was sharing with me that 2 of the biggest challenges for her revolve around 2 concepts. One is the concept of scarcity versus abundance thinking. And the other has to do with self-esteem. So we don't have a lot of time to talk about these, but I just wanted to bring it up to raise our awareness about it. And we talked over the last week, especially about monitoring our self-talk and how destructive negative self-talk can be. We talked about that part of our brain that is always listening. So what we say to ourselves can sabotage our efforts to reach our goals. If we have scarcity thinking, it sounds like, oh my gosh, there's never enough time. I have a job. There's no time for my kids. There's no time. I have no time to clean the house. I have no time. When am I going to make these phone calls that they're talking about? I have no time for that. That's scarcity thinking. There's never enough money. There's things that we're just, money doesn't grow on trees. There's never enough money. I've talked to everybody I know. There's never enough customers. I mean, how am I going to do 3,000 PV? I don't know anybody else. Distributors. I don't know. I mean, I don't know anybody who'd want to have a business. There just aren't enough people who want to do that. Sometimes there's not enough love. There's not enough energy. There's not enough ideas, not enough resources, not enough friends. Scarcity thinking can show up anywhere. And we want to recognize it when it does so we can change it and shift it. Let's look at a few examples. So abundance thinking, this was something that I needed to learn because I was always taught, I have no time. I don't know how, oh my gosh, this office is such a, I never can find anything. I mean, I was doing have-tos and not enough ofs a lot. So one of the mantras I had to learn then was there's plenty of time for everything that's important to me. There's plenty of time for my kids, for my husband, for my community, for my church, for my Shaklee business, when there is a plan. And once that became my abundance thinking, it was so freeing. And it overcomes so many fears. And there's a wonderful book called Simple Abundance by Sarah Von Brecknecht. That is, it just helps us with living in a place of gratitude and not scarcity, right? Then here's just a few quotes that I found. We rise by lifting others. Here were some abundance affirmations about I choose happiness, success, and abundance. I am open and I am ready to receive. I have unlimited abundance. I give and I receive freely. If we have issues around money, what is interesting in our business is we are paid in direct proportion to the number of people that we help. And if we push that away, if we push that money away, we stop the cycle of helping. There is a wonderful biblical verse about casting our bread upon the waters, and it comes back to us tenfold. And I believe that. I think it's a natural law of nature. And so the process of living in abundance is about giving and accepting the love that comes back, giving and accepting the rewards that come back, giving and accepting the results freely. Here's some other examples, some quotes. Abundance is about being rich with or without money. Becoming is better than being, because we're all green and growing, and we'll continue to be becoming every day that we take breath. Let's look at the next one. So there were a bunch around self-esteem. Many years ago, my business had kind of plateaued. And I spoke to Joanne Boltinghouse, a master choir at the time, and she showed me this, and I didn't have time to make the diagram for you to see, but she just drew these two lines, and she said, let me show you something. She said, because I said, I'm doing all these activities. I mean, I'm planning a lot of meetings. I'm busy. I make up phone calls. She said, it's not about the activity. She says, it doesn't matter how much activity you do. You will never outperform your self-image. So when you get stuck, it's time. It just means you've come to a place where it's time to learn some new skills. And a lot of them has to do with learning about personal development within ourselves. So here are just a few quotes. You can pick any one that you like around this, but great things never came from comfort zones. All the learning takes place outside the comfort zone, right? Karen, you can pick any of these that you like too. Believe in yourself and all that you are. Know that there is something inside you that is greater than any obstacle. You know, for years and years, I would go to Shaklee conventions every year, and we'd go to the workshops, and I'd bring my notebooks, and they would have speakers there, and the speakers, you know, would tell us what they did that year that made them successful, and we would write it all down, thinking that this year I'm going to find the answer. You know, there'll be a speaker who's going to give me the answer of what I need to do to be successful year after year, right? And when I started learning more about personal development, when I started learning more about the abilities that lie within all of us, I realized that the answers were not out there, you know, in those workshops, that the answers were they were within us. And we needed to just express them, let them out, put them into practice. So you'll see some here. What you're looking for is not out there, it's inside in here. Do not give your past the power to define your future. This is where you want to bless the past, because everything that has happened to us up to this point has brought us to the wonderful people that we are right now. And so we bless it. Some of it was rough. Okay. But we get to choose what happens from here on. Look at that. Watch out for this girl. Someday she will change the world. There are wonderful quotes that really help us to inspire and empower ourselves. One of the famous ones from Henry Ford: whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right.
Right.
Power of the mind. Let's see, did I put any others in here? Oh, here's a few. This is the other thing to remember. This is about bless the bumps, right? Strength comes from facing challenges. Look at this African proverb: smooth seas do not make skillful sailors. The best view comes after the hardest climb. Boy, is that the case. And strength doesn't come from what you can do. It comes from overcoming the things you once thought that you couldn't. And Simon Sinek, you're going to see a whole bunch of them, Simon Sinek quotes. When we're going to skip next week because it's 2 days before Thanksgiving, and we'll take our final session on the last Tuesday of the month. And Simon Sinek, I captured a lot of his quotes for you, but he says, safe is good for sidewalks and swimming pools, but life requires risk if we're to get anywhere. So good. Okay, so with that, did I go backwards there? Let's get to our action steps. And did Allison ever get unmuted?
No, she's not
Oh, she didn't.
available.
Okie doke. Okay. Okay. So action steps now for let's say form session. That was session 3 actually, and that would be this is the time when we now want to take a look to see, what is my system for meeting new people on a regular basis? Do I even have one, or is it hit and miss? And what is my system once I have my customers? How am I servicing them and educating them and exposing them to more Shaklee products and to health information and to the benefits of the business and so forth? This is the week to start putting that all together and putting it into practice. So next session, which will be on November 30th, the week after Thanksgiving, the Tuesday after Thanksgiving, that's when we'll tackle the last piece of our system, and that is how we're going to be identifying potential business partners. So with that, we will wrap, and I just want to give you some information about accessing our resources. So a lot of the information that came from tonight's session came from previous trainings that we have done over the years. And I just wanted you to see the topics. When you go to betterfuturestartstoday.com, and we access that now by going to HTTP, no S. I just want you to see, these are just some of the topics of various sessions where we did a whole session, a whole hour on communication skills, or on inviting and closing, or on servicing customers, and so forth. So here are just some of the actual trainings that we took them from. And so we now have these 3 websites: Better Future Starts Today, or the more recent ones, betterfuture.training, and then of course all the ones with the health information. So Chris made us a slide here. Oh, it moves, Chris. I didn't even notice that before. And Chris is running a sale for us right now for folks who want to start their own accounts. And there's value in doing that, because as we are bringing people into our group, both as customers, but as business partners, it establishes our business teams with an identity. So Chris sets it up with your picture of you or your business team, and your story. So here are some of the discounts right now. You go to this join.betterhealthin31days.com and just put in the discount codes, either Barb10 or Pam 10% discount codes, and you can get your own account up and running. I don't know if you've been in there lately, but it's got a new look, and it's got an easier way of accessing information to get to the different sessions and the different topics. So we've been working on that for you. So with that, I think it's a wrap. Anything else, Karen, for tonight?
No, just
I'll go
take
back and
those
look at those
risks
actions.
and build
Yeah.
relationships, and you're
There
on
you
your
go.
way.
And happy Thanksgiving, everybody. All right. Thank you so much. See you in 2 weeks. Bye-bye.